My parents charged me rent $1,200 a month to live in my childhood room, then spent it all on my brother. So I bought their mortgage and evicted them. I came home from my evening shift, shoulders aching, feet screaming, and all I wanted was a hot shower and 3 minutes of silence. But instead, I found an envelope lying neatly on my bed. No name, no decoration, just a plain, cold white envelope. I opened it. Inside was a printed notice. Room rental $1, $220/month. Includes water, electricity, Wi-Fi, home maintenance fees. Due the 5th of every month. Dad. I stared at the paper like it had just slapped me in the face. My old bedroom, the one with the faded posters on the wall and a single creaky window, now came with a monthly bill. $1,220 for my childhood room. When I walked into the kitchen, Mom was stirring sauce like nothing happened. I held the paper up. "What's this?" I asked. She didn't even look up. "Time to contribute more, honey. You're 24. But I already pay for my food, my phone, my gas, everything. I even gave you my last bonus for the electric bill." She smiled gently, like I was a toddler confused about a bedtime story. "It's time to learn responsibility." And my brother? Bailey sat at the kitchen table, gaming headset on, eyes glued to a screen. He didn't even blink. No one asked him for rent. No one handed him a bill. I wanted to scream. Instead, I went to work the next morning like usual, 2 shifts, one at the bank, one as a waitress at the sports bar downtown. By the time I got home, it was nearly midnight. I peeled off my uniform, dropped onto my mattress, and checked my phone. Overdrawn. I blinked. That couldn't be right. I opened my banking app and saw the culprit immediately. $79.99 to Steam. $12.49 to Twitch. More small charges, all adding up. My brother had been using my old card again. The one I thought I had destroyed. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I cornered Bailey. "Stop using my card." "I mean it. I'm locking it." He laughed, not even pausing his game. "You're overreacting. You owe me over $300, Bailey. And you owe this family your support," he said, mimicking Dad's voice. "We all make sacrifices." That was the moment I knew. They didn't see me as a daughter. I was a bank account with legs. A disposable worker who just happened to live down the hall. So, I did the one thing they'd never expect from me. I opened a brand new savings account. Not in my name. In the name of a shell LLC. That night, I talked to Joseph, a coworker who'd gone through something similar. "It's not just abuse," he told me over coffee. "It's financial exploitation. Get out and don't look back." I didn't know how yet. I didn't even have a real plan. But for the first time in months, I wasn't stuck. Something inside me clicked into place. And the girl who'd come home with aching feet and a tight chest? She was gone. The kitchen felt colder than usual. Maybe it was the silence, or maybe it was the weight of the envelope Vanessa now clutched in her hands. The final payment slip, signed and stamped by her own father. $1, $220 marked, paid in full for last month. For a room that used to be decorated in her childhood drawings. She ran her fingers along the seam of the envelope before tearing it open. Inside were 2 receipts and a brief note. Asterisk, effective next month, rent increases to $1 for 100 due to rising utilities. No exceptions. Dad. Asterisk. She laughed. Not a bitter laugh, not even sarcastic, just empty. Her brother Bailey walked in, grabbing juice from the fridge like nothing happened. "You should be more understanding," he said without looking at her. "They're just trying to teach you responsibility." "Responsibility," she replied. "You spent $70 on a 4-night skin pack. On my card." Bailey shrugged. "You get paid twice a month. Chill." Vanessa stared at him. The boy who couldn't wash a single dish without throwing a tantrum. The boy who still had the password to her Amazon account and didn't even try to hide it. She once thought he was just spoiled. Now she realized he was entitled. By the time she made it to work, the stress had migrated to her shoulders like bricks. Joseph noticed immediately. You're running on fumes, he said, sliding her a protein bar across the counter. You sleep at all? 4 hours. Maybe. I had to print out old bank statements. Needed to prove my brother's spending pattern. Still planning the escape? Vanessa nodded. More than planning. I opened an LLC this morning. Joseph blinked. For what? To buy the mortgage. He stopped mid-sip of his coffee. Wait, like your parents' mortgage? I found out last week they're 5 months behind, she said. Emma, my neighbor, the realtor, told me. She found the foreclosure notice in a pile of mail while dropping off cookies. Joseph whistled. So, you're buying their debt? No, she said, her eyes sharper now. I'm buying their power. Then I'll let the systems speak their language. That evening, Vanessa met Emma in her backyard under a string of Edison bulbs. They sat with laptops and manila folders, poring over the final documents. This company, Vanquished Properties LLC, it's clean, Emma said. Anonymous. Your name doesn't touch it unless you want it to. I don't, Vanessa replied quickly. Emma raised an eyebrow. Then be ready. Once this is processed, you become the ghost in their walls. You'll own the house they still think belongs to them. I'm ready. When Vanessa walked back home later that night, her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. Asterisk, don't forget dishes. And your dad said he didn't get your rent yet. Asterisk. Vanessa didn't reply. Instead, she sat at the dining table, opened her laptop, and transferred the remaining amount from her savings to the LLC escrow account. 3 hours later, the paperwork was done. The mortgage was now hers. The next morning, her father waited for her at the kitchen table, coffee in hand. Vanessa, he said sternly, you didn't pay rent yet. She slid the copy of her lease termination across the table. I'm moving out in 2 weeks. Consider this my formal notice. You what? I found a place, she said. And I'm taking all my things. What about groceries? Utilities? You can ask Bailey. He owes me $$ for 72.36 in Steam purchases alone. Her father stood, face reddening. This is outrageous. Where do you even think you're going to go? Somewhere I pay for myself and don't get robbed. She didn't flinch. Not when he slammed the table. Not when her mother cried about her breaking the family apart. She just walked away. By nightfall, her room was half-packed. Emma texted. Asterisk, mortgage transfer approved. Deed's yours. Closing notice on Monday. Asterisk. Vanessa lay on her mattress one last time, surrounded by boxes and receipts. She stared at the ceiling and whispered, "This house doesn't own me anymore." The official letter was printed on cream paper with a watermark, folded neatly inside a pale blue envelope. Asterisk, asterisk, notice of transfer of mortgage ownership, asterisk, asterisk. I stared at the header for a solid minute, my heart pounding like I'd just sprinted up a mountain. I had done it. Vanquished Properties LLC now legally owned the mortgage of my parents' house. The bank had processed everything. The irony was poetic. The very girl they drained like a personal ATM now had the power to evict them. And they had no idea yet. I took a slow sip of coffee. It tasted like justice. That evening, the chaos began. It started with the front door being banged open. I heard Dad's heavy boots first, then Mom's shrill voice. I didn't get up. I just waited. I knew what was coming. A storm. And I had an umbrella made of signed documents and legal backing. Asterisk, asterisk, Vanessa. Asterisk, asterisk. Dad's voice echoed through the house. You better explain this bull's /, asterisk, /, asterisk, / asterisk letter. I stayed seated at the kitchen table, flipping slowly through my spreadsheet. When they found me, I didn't even flinch. What the hell is this? He slapped the mortgage notice onto the table. Mom followed close behind, mascara already smudged from tears she probably forced. Sweetheart, this is a mistake, right? A misunderstanding? I looked at both of them. No, it's not. Dad's fists clenched. You don't get to do this. This is our home. You're right, I said. But you borrowed against it. Defaulted for 5 months. I checked. And now, the lien is mine. They both blinked, stunned. Then Mom scoffed. We did everything for you. We raised you, gave you a roof, which I paid for. I cut in sharply. Every damn month since I turned 18. I paid for the roof, the water, the gas, the food, even Bailey's online game subscriptions. Dad's voice cracked into a low growl. He's your brother. He's a leech, I snapped. Silence. I took a breath and laid out a thick folder I had prepared. Receipts, bank statements, screenshots, every transfer, every abuse of my finances. This is everything you've taken from me in the last 5 years. Mom reached out for it like it would burn her. You kept track of all this? I'm a banker. What did you expect? Bailey slinked into the room. Hoodie up. Eyes puffy. Vanessa. I didn't even look at him. You owe me over $2,000 in food deliveries and gaming charges. He shrank into himself. I could see the guilt, but it came too late. I wasn't the sister who bought him burgers anymore. I was the woman who bought the deed to their prison. Dad leaned across the table. You really think this makes you powerful? Makes you better than us? No, I said coldly. It makes me free. Mom burst into tears again. We're your parents. I stood up slowly, calm and composed. Exactly. And you turned parenthood into a financial scheme. I'm just reclaiming what's mine. They didn't even try to hide their panic anymore. I handed them a letter, my own version of an eviction notice. Not to kick them out. Not yet. But to set terms. You can stay. Rents $2,000 a month. Payable to Vanquished Properties, LLC. First payment due in 10 days. Are you insane? Dad roared. No, I said. But you may need to find a roommate if you can't afford it. Bailey whispered. You're really doing this? I looked him straight in the eyes. You think the real world is just pizza and PlayStation? Welcome to adulthood. They didn't respond. I walked past them and out the front door, inhaling the crisp night air like it was freedom itself. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just smiled. This wasn't revenge. This was justice, with a signature at the bottom. I didn't expect them to come knocking so soon. It was barely a week after I sent the official foreclosure notice. The LLC was listed as the mortgage holder now. I'd even paid a lawyer to ensure it was legally ironclad. I was sitting on the floor of my art room, bare walls, canvas in front of me, charcoal on my hands, when the doorbell rang. I stood slowly, wiped my hands on an old hoodie, and opened the front door. There they were, my parents, together. My father stiff as steel, arms crossed. My mother beside him, eyes red from what I assumed were rehearsed tears. And a few steps behind them, Bailey. Head low. No headset, no usual cocky smirk. Just a blank expression. Can we come in? Mom asked softly, her voice quivering just enough to seem sincere. No, I replied calmly. This isn't a family reunion. She flinched. My father narrowed his eyes. Vanessa, we need to talk. This has gone far enough. You've made your point. No, Dad, I said, arms folded. I haven't even started. Bailey cleared his throat. Look, I didn't know they were going to come. I just wanted to see if we could talk. I studied him for a second. Was this guilt? Regret? Or just self-preservation now that he couldn't charge pizza to my credit card? I send you the payment options, I said coolly. Fair market value rent. Or vacate. My mother burst into tears. Sweetheart, how could you do this to your family? We raised you. We gave you everything. I raised my hand. No, Mom. You charged me for everything. Rent. Bills. Even things I didn't use. You used my income to keep your house afloat while letting Bailey live like a child prince. I wasn't your daughter. I was your revenue stream. She started to say something, but I stepped aside and pulled a thick folder from the console table by the door. I handed it to her. What is this? Dad asked, opening it before she could. Itemized financial records, I said. Every dollar you took from me. Every charge Bailey made on my cards. Every utility I paid, even when I was out of town. Bailey's face turned pink. I didn't mean. You didn't care, I interrupted. Not once. You laughed when I said I was tired. You mocked me when I packed instant noodles. You told me I needed to be an adult while you leached off me like parasites. My father took a step forward, tones suddenly icy. You're being disrespectful. And you're being evicted, I said, slamming the door halfway shut between us. You have 29 days left to vacate. The LLC will enforce late fees, penalties, and, if needed, legal proceedings. Bailey looked at me then, and for the first time in years, I saw fear in his eyes. Where are we supposed to go? My mother sobbed. We have nowhere. I paused. Then, quietly, that never stopped you from pushing me out when it suited you. The silence that followed was suffocating. My father looked like he might explode, but didn't. He grabbed my mother's arm and turned. Come on. We don't beg. Bailey stood there a second longer. Nessa, I'm sorry. I met his gaze. No, Bailey. You're scared. That's not the same thing. He left. Later that night, I sat in my studio, candles lit around the room, windows cracked open to let in the smell of wet leaves and new beginnings. Joseph had left a protein bar and a sticky note that said, Asterisk, don't forget to eat, Artist Queen. Asterisk, I smiled at it. My phone buzzed. Another voicemail. This one from Mom. I miss my little girl. I don't understand why you hate us. I deleted it without listening further. Then I opened my laptop and wrote an email to my lawyer confirming final preparations for the formal eviction proceedings. 30 days from now, the house would either be legally vacated, or I'd have every right to remove them. But that wasn't the real victory. The real win was this. I didn't cry once today. I didn't flinch when they raised their voices. I didn't shrink when they begged. I didn't open the door for guilt. And I never would again. I thought things would go quiet after the confrontation at the door. I thought the slammed door and their stunned faces would be the end of it. I was wrong. It started with a text from Elise, a woman I hadn't spoken to since high school. Asterisk, hey, just checking in. Your mom says you're going through something and might need support. Want to grab coffee? Asterisk. Support? She made it sound like I was having a mental breakdown. I didn't respond. Then came the knock on the door. Mrs. Langley, our old neighbor. She had a casserole dish in hand and a concerned look on her face. Vanessa, sweetheart. I heard things got tense. Your parents are worried sick. They say you're not in your right mind. That you've been working too much. I stared at her in disbelief. I didn't invite her in. She placed the casserole on the porch, railing awkwardly. You know, she said, family is hard. But you only get one. I nodded slowly, lips tight. Thank you. I'll keep that in mind. As she walked away, I saw her glance back twice, probably trying to make sense of the girl she once knew and the woman she now couldn't manipulate. By the end of the week, 3 more people I barely knew had reached out. Messages ranged from "Your parents are so hurt" to "We're praying for you." The implication was clear. I was the villain in their version of the story. I forwarded the screenshots to Emma. She called instantly. They're running a smear campaign. I laughed bitterly. They act like I burned down a church. She exhaled. Let's stay focused. How do you want to handle the eviction? By the book. Legally. Zero emotion. We drafted the 30-day notice to vacate that same night. It wasn't personal. It was paperwork. Joseph stopped by with coffee and pastries from a new place. They're spreading stuff at the bank too, he said quietly, eyes on me. That you had a breakdown. That you stole from your own family. I didn't flinch. Let them talk. I've got receipts. Literally. I showed him my spreadsheet again. Every payment. Every fraudulent transaction. Every rent increase. He whistled. It's not just a spreadsheet. It's a timeline of abuse. I smiled. That's exactly what I want the court to see. The notice was posted officially 3 days later. Emma handled the legal part. I stood across the street and watched Dad rip the paper off the door, crumble it, and throw it on the lawn. Then he stormed outside, phone to his ear, pacing. I didn't care what he was saying. The moment was mine. Later that evening, Mom called from a different number. I picked up out of curiosity. Vanessa, she breathed. What are you doing? This isn't like you. Maybe you don't know me as well as you thought. This house, your childhood home, is a business asset. One I now control. You're really going to kick your own parents out? You kicked me out first. Just slower. With rent receipts. The next morning, Bailey showed up. Again. He looked less smug. More tired. He held up a plastic bag with my old art supplies. I thought you might want these back, he muttered. I took the bag without a word. He lingered on the porch. They're talking about suing you. For what? Owning property I legally purchased. He shrugged. They say you're cold. I stared at him. And you say what? He looked down. That maybe you just got tired of being used. That night, I sat in my new house, surrounded by the smell of fresh paint and possibility. Emma emailed me the pre-listing evaluation of my parents' house. Market value had gone up. Interest was already forming. Joseph texted, asterisk, you're not just changing your life. You're rewriting the rules. Asterisk. I looked around. The silence wasn't empty. It was mine. And this was just the beginning. The eviction notice had barely stuck to the peeling paint of the old front door when the first wave of calls came in. Mrs. Henderson from down the street. Asterisk, sweetheart. Your mom just called. She said you've locked them out of their own home. Tell me that's not true. Asterisk. Vanessa closed her phone. No explanation. No justification. Then came the text messages. Dozens. Asterisk, asterisk. How could you do this to your family? Asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. Your father helped raise you. Asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk. They're your blood. Asterisk. By noon, her inbox was a graveyard of guilt-laced manipulation. And not one of those messages asked if she was okay. Not one. At work, she stayed late, pretending to fix account records, but mostly just watching her breathing in the dark break room. Joseph walked in around 7 p.m. with his usual calm. Is it happening? He asked. Vanessa just nodded. They're going for the public sympathy route. He didn't flinch. Instead, he handed her a manila folder. Emma said you'll need these if you plan to list the house. Official appraisal forms. Photos. Disclosures. Vanessa took it. The weight of it felt like a door finally closing behind her. That Friday, her parents showed up at her front porch. They weren't yelling. They weren't even crying. They were smiling. We're here to negotiate, her father said. Let's not make this uglier than it already is. Vanessa opened the screen door and stood between the frame. You mean uglier than making your daughter pay rent while your son bought $300 worth of Fortnite skins with her card? Her mother's smile twitched. We were just trying to teach you responsibility. Vanessa raised a single sheet of paper. This is your signed acknowledgement of the rent. And here's your overdraft notice for March. I own this house, and I can legally sell it. Bailey stepped out from behind them, looking thinner, paler. You wouldn't kick us out, he said. Vanessa locked eyes with him. You kicked me out of basic decency years ago. She shut the door. Slowly. 2 days later, her mailbox was vandalized. Someone had ripped off the flag and stuffed it with shredded bills and dollar store paintbrushes. A message was scrawled across the side in permanent marker. Asterisk, you'll be alone forever. Asterisk. Vanessa didn't call the police. She called Emma. They met at a quiet cafe, and Emma brought a laptop with property values pulled up. This could go fast, Emma said. There's a developer sniffing around this area. All cash. Vanessa sipped her coffee. Let's do it. Emma hesitated. Once it's sold, there's no going back. Vanessa smiled bitterly. There's nothing to go back to. Her father filed a motion at the courthouse to contest the eviction, but the deed and property rights were all in Vanessa's LLC name. Joseph helped her file the response. Her case was airtight. At church, her parents gave teary testimonies about being displaced by the greed of the younger generation. Vanessa didn't care. She knew who she was. She had receipts. The realtor's sign went up that Tuesday. For sale, Vanquished Properties LLC. Her parents came by again, this time just her mother. "You don't have to do this," her mother said. "We're family. I carried you." "You also let Bailey drain my account while you watched daytime soaps," Vanessa replied. Her mother's expression hardened. "You're heartless." Vanessa stepped closer. "No. I just finally have boundaries." By Thursday, she received an offer. Full asking price. No contingencies. She accepted. As Emma prepared closing documents, Joseph brought pizza to celebrate. They ate on the floor of her now mostly empty home, surrounded by boxes labeled studio, art supplies, and new life. "You're really doing it," Joseph said. Vanessa nodded. "I think I'm finally free." The day of the final sale had arrived. I woke up before the alarm, not out of excitement, but out of calm. For the first time in years, there was no fear in my chest, no second-guessing. The house was spotless. The inspection had gone through. The buyer, a woman named Allison, was ready. All that remained was for me to sign the closing papers. At 9 a.m. sharp, I arrived at the real estate office with Emma. My LLC, Vanquished Properties, would officially become the seller. The house I grew up in, the one I paid for, silently and invisibly, was about to become someone else's. And I didn't feel sad. I felt clean. As I picked up the pen to sign the documents, my phone buzzed. A text. ***, please don't do this. We can talk. Your father is sick about this. ***. Then another. Bailey ***, you're really going through with this? You're out of your mind. ***. And one more, from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown ***, selling your family's home? Wow. Cold-hearted doesn't begin to describe it. ***. Emma looked over at my screen, then said softly, "You don't have to justify this. Sign." So I did. Every page, every initial, every signature. I signed it all. Allison signed next, smiling. She was a single mother, starting over. The irony wasn't lost on me. As the notary stamped the final sheet, it felt like a door slammed shut, and I was on the right side of it for once. That night, as I started packing the last box of personal records, the doorbell rang. I knew before I even checked the peephole. Bailey. Behind him stood our parents. I didn't open the door. Instead, I pulled my phone out and started recording. "Vanessa," Mom said through the door, voice already cracking. "We're begging you. Let's talk. We raised you." "You charged me," I corrected, still not opening. "Dad has chest pains," Bailey added. "He might need the hospital." "Then take him," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "There's an urgent care 2 blocks down." There was silence for a moment. Then the shouting started. Accusations. Guilt. Lies. Promises. Pleading. Dad's voice shaking with anger. Bailey kicking the door once, but not hard enough to matter. I stood there listening until I had enough audio. Then I emailed the footage to Emma. She'd asked me to document any harassment. Eventually, they left. I didn't look out the window. I didn't care if they cried or if they cursed me. They had taken enough from me. The transfer of funds came through the next morning. A clean amount, 6 figures, deposited into the LLC account. I stared at it for a long while, then laughed. Not because I was rich, I wasn't, but because I was untouchable now. The house was gone. The leverage gone. Their ability to guilt me? Dead. Emma dropped by that afternoon to bring the final copies of all documents. "So what now?" she asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I'm going to find out on my own." She smiled. "That's the right answer." 2 weeks later, I signed a lease on a sunny 1-bedroom loft with exposed brick and too many windows. Joseph helped me carry in the first box. Inside it, my old sketchbooks. I hadn't drawn in years. That night, I sat cross-legged on the floor, flipped open a blank page, and started to sketch a girl standing in the rain, smiling, soaked, but free. It wasn't art yet, but it was mine.